Hey guys, so the first arc in The Promised Neverland ended just a couple of days ago. I've been mentioning this series a lot. I think it's finally time that I dedicate a whole video to it and just do a little review on all the content that we've gotten so far. Now we are going to be getting into spoilers. I'm going to talk about all the things that happened during this arc. So if you haven't read the first 37 chapters of The Promised Neverland, then I recommend you click off this video and go read them. So with that out of the way, let's talk about some of the things I love and a few things I don't really care for about The Promised Neverland. So right off the bat, I really love just how unique this series is for a Shonen Jump title. There really isn't much action, there's no battles going on. It's just a really intense and suspenseful thriller. And there are a ton of mystery elements in it that I really love. So of course, I'm assuming everyone has read it. We have these kids who live on an orphanage, you know, they think everything's fine, and once they grow up, they will be sent off to another home or to guardians or whatever, but it turns out they actually live on a farm. Everything they know about the world is a lie, and that when it's time for them to leave, they get harvested and eaten by these crazy demon monsters. I love the first chapter so much. I love how well it sets up the concept. And of course, that's when we have two of our main characters, Emma and Norman, finding out the truth about this place, and then the rest of this arc is basically them, as well as Ray and a few of the other kids, trying to figure out how to escape the farm. So Emma, Ray, and Norman are all pretty smart. Like, they're basically geniuses. They do extremely well on the tests. The reason they're still at the orphanage is because apparently they're just like, oh, they got some quality brains, we want to keep them around for a while. So the three of them are trying to figure out a way to escape without alerting Mama, who of course runs the orphanage, takes care, and raises all of these kids, but is of course secretly working for the demons. And we of course have Emma, who wants to save all of the kids at once, but then we have the others who are like, yo, that's really unrealistic. I don't think we're gonna be able to do that. So we get a lot of suspense there, just trying to figure out, you know, what the crap are they going to do? But then things get a bit crazy once Mama starts to suspect that people know the truth. This is when she brings in Sister Crone to come in and help, you know, figure out what the crap's going on. Crone has her own ulterior motives though, and Mama finds out and ends up axing off Crone. That was kind of crazy. Which is fine, because honestly I don't really care for Crone that much. Her mouth was just terrifying. Another thing that really brings the suspense in this arc is that when Mama finally finds out that Emma and Norman are trying to escape, and they're the ones who know everything. And of course she finds out because Ray was actually her spy, while at the same time Ray is really on Emma and Norman's side. You know, in exchange for the information he gives Mama, Mama will basically give him anything he requests, and some of those things he requests may just seem like random novelties, but he of course plans to use them to help in their escape plan. I will say this though, and it's a minor problem that I've had with the series so far, that the only reason Ray is a spy for Mama, the only reason he knows about everything in the first place, is because he remembers being born. It's revealed later that Isabella is actually his birth mother, but he remembers all that. He remembers, you know, being born in this weird place with demon monsters going around. And I find this really hard to buy. I mean, this ain't no weird fantasy world. This takes place on Earth in the near future. And I checked online, like, there are some people who claim to remember being born. But I mean, come on, this is the reason why he knows what's up. I mean, I think it would have been a lot cool if we had seen some other way that he knew about it all along. It really just seems like an ass pull saying that, oh, yeah, he knows all this because he remembers when he was born. But anyway, now that Mama is onto them, she's pretty eager to get rid of them. Emma actually even breaks her leg so she doesn't get shipped off right away. But eventually, of course, Norman's time is up. You know, he leaves this big elaborate plan for them so they can finally escape. But of course, it requires sacrificing himself. We get this big deal, then Norman gets sent off. I'll talk about that more in a minute as we get into probably my biggest problem with the series so far. It wasn't that big a deal, but I really hope that something like this never happens again. This was, of course, Ray's awful death fake out in chapter 32. This was seriously some fairy tale levels of shit. I hated it so much. If you remember, Ray basically says, we're gonna set the mansion on fire, including myself, because if we get caught, it's over. I feel like my death would just piss everyone off. You guys would get the chance to escape. So he covers himself in the room in gasoline and drops a match. We see the entire room goes up in flames with Emma screaming his name, and the chapter ends. If Ray had died here, that would have been brilliant. It would have exposed the massive balls of the mangaka, as well as shaken up the entire series. It would have been awesome. And because of the way it was handled, and that we've never had any, you know, prior death fake outs, pretty much everyone believed that Ray was dead. But in the next chapter, it turns out that Emma actually caught the match, before he burnt himself, and then they basically just fake his death. So that doesn't actually seem all that bad. Why do I have such a big problem with it? Well, it's because in the previous chapter, it clearly shows him dropping the match and the entire house being engulfed in flames. That doesn't actually happen, because if you read the next chapter, the house isn't on fire yet, Emma catches the match, and then a few other things happen before they actually set the house on fire. So the ending of chapter 32 is pretty much a lie. That is awful. That should never happen again, and I really hope it doesn't, because that's really the only major problem I had with this. Speaking of death fake outs, we are now led to believe that Norman is dead, and honestly, I really hope that he is dead. Not that I, of course, wanted Norman to die. I mean, Norman's a great character. The thing is, though, we didn't see his death. I have a feeling something's up, and if he does live, I don't really know if it will be good or bad. It depends on how it's handled. Also, let's talk about Phil for a moment. Phil is obviously a demon spy. I do actually consider it a bit of a problem if a 4-year-old is this literate. Like, he's 4 years old, he can't speak this well. That just doesn't make any sense. This is clearly the shadow of a demon. It is not an accurate shadow, and it is a color page, so you know it was revised a bunch of times. If there was a mistake with that shadow, they would have fixed it. But we're probably not going to find out for a while. So with the ending of this arc, let's discuss the future a little bit. I'm so excited to see what the outside world is like, because all we really know is that sometime in the near future, these demons just pretty much took over the world. About 30 years have passed from, you know, the most recent books in their library, so no one really knows what happened in the outside world at that point. I'm pretty sure Mama didn't even know, because, you know, she was raised on an orphanage, and then she was just chosen to be Mama. Like, I doubt she even knows what's going on in the outside world. So now we have all the orphans above the age of 6, you know, they're off in the world, they're gonna have to figure out how to survive, and their plan is to come back in 2 years to save everyone else, because in 2 years' time is when those kids will start to be harvested. I honestly can't wait. I'm really curious to see just what's next. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if we get a time skip in the near future showing everyone going back. It really depends on how they handle what's going to happen in the outside world. So I'm really looking forward to that. I'm also really looking forward to when Viz finally releases these in English, because I will most definitely be picking all of those up. That is going to be wonderful. So overall, those are my thoughts on the first arc. I really thought it was great. It had so many good elements. A few things that I didn't care for that I really hope are not repeated. But overall, I have been really enjoying the series thus far, and I cannot wait to see where it goes. So with that, thank you guys so much for watching. You can leave your thoughts on The Promised Neverland in the comments below, and I will see you guys in the next video.